Aquarius, hello. I'm complaining in every single one of these readings how cold it is, and you are no exception. It's fucking cold. So hopefully you can hear me okay. I've got the heater going right next to me. As you can see, I'm bundled up in sweats, and I'm gonna hopefully keep my fingers warm enough to shuffle these cards and do this reading. Oh, don't do it. It could be some sort of choice you're making in work or collaboration. You could have two or more options in some sort of creative project you're working on. Something in your 3D pentacle world. Maybe you didn't know that was coming because those came out upside down. Not reverse. Oh, upside down, like you didn't see them. You don't see them coming. So it's like a Two of Swords. There's some sort of tower or unexpected turn of events that's going to bring in this opportunity for a choice. It does feel money related. All right, so I've got my pumpkin spice tea. Let's see what the little yogi fortune says. Be kind to others, but always be compassionate to yourself. I don't know why there's a but there. As if there's a separation between kindness and compassion. Maybe because kindness is like the act of compassion. Compassion is the feeling. Compassion is the sensation. If anything, that should be flipped if that's the case. Like, you should have compassion for others, but the acts of kindness really need to be geared towards yourself. So maybe you are like over giving to a situation, and if you are, could be like 10 of Wands energy, right? Where you're like needing to stop burdening yourself with other people's healing process, with other people's work, with their workload, whatever. Yeah, there's Two of Swords and Strength. One more. So this could be more of a work reading than a love reading, but I feel like the work that you do is going to lead you to your person. It's all tied into your divine path. So the work that we do is very much in death. Yeah, there's an ending to something that's exhausting because we've got strength here, and so at the center. So it's like you're actually going to be following your heart. Strength is Leo. Strength is the heart chakra, right? Two of Swords is like that moon energy. It's something you don't see coming, but it is a choice. It's a decision. Swords are about truth and words, thoughts. Your thoughts become your words, and your words become your belief system, right? So there's something maybe about affirmations. Speaking your truth and creating very mercurial energy. Mercurial. It's like when you were a kid and you talked in front of a fan. I don't know, maybe that's something you did. But it could be something, maybe you're going into something because if you're following your heart and that's going to bring you strength, you know, this is specific, but it's like when a band member leaves and starts their own like solo artistry. You could be leaving some sort of entity to go and do it on your own. Entrepreneurship, right? Maybe you are a musician or a performance artist, something with the throat. You could be doing seminars, right? Taking everything that you learned from something else and teaching others how to do it for themselves, right? You know, with strength here, this infinity symbol, this 8, right? 8s could be very important to you. You could have an infinity tattoo, but there is something about this symbol is shared with the magician. So it is that mercurial energy, being the master creator of your own reality, of your own dreams, making your dreams a reality, instead of maybe caring for others. And you know, with that kindness and compassion, it's like compassionate care, which is like end of life care. And death here, maybe you are maybe you care for a loved one and they are going to pass, and that is actually going to be, I mean, it's going to be a challenge. I think a lot of your, if that's the case, a lot of your identity is wrapped up in being their caregiver. All of your moves in life, in love, just in self, have always been deprioritized, right? This person's care, this entity's care was always, you know, prioritized over your own. You could be like a nurse or a CNA or something that's, you give care to others in the medical industry. It is an industry. And having that sort of realization, like maybe you do hospice care, maybe you deal with that and you're just done with dealing with the fact that that whole system is designed to keep the populace sick. And so you could be branching off from everything that you've learned from that about biology, about anatomy, about physiology, and you're taking all of that information about communicable illnesses, that's specific, but you could be just taking everything that you've learned from that sort of like mass industry, and you're bringing it into something that is more holistic, something that is empowering the populace to heal themselves, right? All right, so with strength, we've got the Queen of Wands. So yeah, I mean, you could be dealing with a Leo, you could have a Leo placement, but this is definitely following your heart and guarding and protecting what you know to be true and what you're passionate about. You know, passion looks a lot like anger, right? And people might say that you have anger issues. Maybe you went to some sort of, you know, groups, or you took medication or something for like your temper or for your anger. Or you just haven't been able to relate to other people because you were around people who stifled your passion, who they weren't aligned. I mean, simply put, they weren't aligned with your divine path, which is to create change. Anger tells you when there is something needs to change. Something isn't right here, and it makes people angry, right? It hurts us as individuals because we believe in the potential of humanity. We believe in something better. We believe in something healing, especially if you were one of the few people. I think most people that go into nursing or go into the medical field have that glimmer of hope that they're going to heal, and then they get into it and then they get burnt out and then they become bitter and resentful and then they stop caring because they realize that there's no place for care. There's no place for true compassion there. Everyone is just a number. Everyone is just a product of the industry. And so, yeah, I feel like there's something, you're rewriting this. You're taking that, maybe it made you very angry and bitter, wherever you were. It might not be the medical industry. It could be, you know, some sort of business conglomerate industry. It could be something like that where you're just like, this is not satisfying. This is not healing. This is not helping anybody. Maybe you went in to help people with whatever you were doing. There's that movie, I Want You Back. It's a romantic comedy. And, you know, the main male character wants to be, you know, he wants to build a nursing home, like a specialized nursing home, like something that you'd actually want your loved ones to go to. And maybe you had a parent in there or a grandparent in there and you saw it, and so you're going to kind of do something different to help care for the elderly. There's something where you saw like neglect, you saw that, and it made you very angry. But this character, that's what his dream is, but he's actually working for a place that works to, it's an industry that works to reduce the quality of the foods and the I mean, you really only see the foods, but I feel like it's like they're working to reduce the quality for money. You know, it's all about money, it's all about numbers. And so they're like cutting their meals. They have these prepared meals, so they're changing their meals. And so like food, you know, maybe you're going to be maybe you were in the political system or the business system and you realize, wow, the rich just get richer, and there's an epidemic of homelessness, or you know, people who are not actually benefiting from whatever these cuts are, these tax breaks. Maybe you were in accounting, you were in numbers, somehow you saw this. There's something that you saw wherever you were that was like the root of the problem, and you're here to like put some you're here to like kill the roots, right? Yeah, you're like ripping that weed up from the root. And to follow your original dream of actually wanting to help and heal. And this is where you're going to meet your person, because you know, I could be talking to the masculine. This top portion is directed towards the masculine in this divine union. And I have these feminine figures here in the feminine section, the Queen of Wands, the World. We have this like mermaid here. And it could be, I don't want to say as simple as, but you know, there are conspiracies that there's some sort of like drug in Starbucks. Like, you know, you could be like a whistleblower or something, but there is something about like Starbucks. I went to the very first Starbucks in Washington, in Seattle. You know, and it's like this little place, and it's like Burt's Bees, you know, these small businesses that start out, you know, with, you know, good coffee, a nice environment where people can come, locals can come, tourists can come and get some coffee, and it's like there's a nourishing quality to it, there's a community quality to it, and now it's become so grotesque and so about the hierarchy, and you know, people like looking at you funny if you don't have a Starbucks. It's like there's something about that sort of like status. It's such a false bullshit status anyway. But the World is, you know, I mean, how it's like, it's everywhere now. And it started as a small place. It started as a small idea. And I feel like maybe you saw the business side of that, and you're going to take the tools of how they did that, how they spread it around the world, and you're going to use the same tools, but you're going to use them in a way that is healing, in a way that is divine, to spread this information to empower the collective. Like, the work that you're going to do is very healing, but I do think that the information comes from something that was not divine, right? It was more demonic. And that could be like it doesn't have to be like an outright demon with horns, right? But it's like, see how she has these horns? I mean, you could be dealing with an Aries, as a fire sign here, but it's like, or have an Aries placement. But Aries, as a feminine Aries, there could be, that's also associated with the Emperor or the Empress. So you could be the masculine Aquarius interested in your divine Empress could be an Aries, right? Which would be like the feminine aspect. Even though the Empress is Taurus and Libra, in the divine union, the Emperor and the Empress is an energy. They're the combination of all the kings and queens. They are the divine magicians, the divine alchemists that create their worlds, their empires together. But see, there's something, and maybe you survived cancer. There's like she's got multiple breasts over here, but she's missing the breast over there. So it's maybe something with like mastectomies. There's some sort of like breast cancer, or maybe the maternal figure, the mother, the grandmother, died of that, or is going to. I don't want to like put ominous energy, but I don't feel like if you've been watching this, if they've been not watching this reading, but if you've been watching this energy or experiencing this energy for a while, it feels like it's something that you've been doing for a while. It's not going to be a shock that this person passes. It's like they're in hospice, they're in a nursing home, they're old, they're sick. Like I don't think that it's going to be a total surprise. But you will still deal with grief. Whether it's a surprise or whether it's expected or not, it doesn't matter. It's, a loss is a loss. And I do feel like this person or this entity that you work for, there was potential, there was hope tied up in it. So there's going to be disappointment of expectations, and there's going to be sadness and grief that you'll have to deal with, whether it's work, whether it's a loved one, whether it's just a past version of yourself that was not aligned with your divine truth. You could have just been behaving. You believed one thing, but your actions said something different. So, but with the feminine here, I feel like the feminine is very empowered, and we do have feminine figures with the Two of Swords and the feminine figure that is like mastering the beast here. So, I mean, now I'm reading for the feminine, but with the divine union, you two are mirroring each other anyway. So I feel like you may both be doing something that shifts out of it, breaks that cycle. That's when you start to elevate and ascend into the magician and the empress or emperor. Is when you break the cycle, when you get out of whatever wasn't working, and you start to realize you have all the tools to make it work for you, to make it work for your truth. Instead of outpouring all of your energy into others, trying to heal others, trying to fix others. It could have been addiction. It could have been, maybe you were helping others with sobriety. You were helping others to feel better about themselves. And then you went home and you were drinking beer just to get through the day, or just to go to sleep, or, it's like maybe there was a conflict of truth there. And that's hypocrisy, like, it is hypocrisy. And I feel like there's something that, here's my vegan plug. A lot of people will say that they're animal lovers, yet they pay to have animals exploited, enslaved, tortured and killed. So it doesn't really align. It doesn't really align. They have a pet pig and then they go eat pork chops afterward, or bacon, because everyone loves bacon. Jesus Christ. So there's my vegan plug. Maybe you're going plant-based, maybe you're going vegan, maybe you're realizing like, oh shit, this doesn't work. And considering that the number of carcinogens that are in the animal industry, animal product industry, are much higher than anything in the plant-based industry, if we call it that. There is a plant-based industry. There is, like Beyond Meats and all of those things. There is a plant-based industry that makes money, and there are celebrities who are not vegan that advocate for those, or they market those, and it is there are always ways to make money. The truth is in like doing as much as you can yourself, and sharing and bartering with a community. So maybe you have this very utopian idea, or you always had this very utopian idea of that kind of interconnected small town little community, like a compound of people that work together and share and barter, and the value of a person, of what they have to contribute to the world, wasn't a number, right? It was more like a village, and it takes a village to raise a child, they say, right? You could have children, but I feel like this is more about the inner child. Like, I feel like most of us as little kids, we dream of that. We are animal lovers. We are peacemakers. We are kind and compassionate, until that somehow, you know, brought out of us. I was going to say beat out of us. So maybe you dealt with some physical abuse growing up. But it is like society, family, the industries, the powers that be will like energetically beat that out of you, and make you just kind of like blindly go through until something happens that forces you to take the blindfold off and make a choice. Because once the blindfold is off, you can put it back on. Most people do. You can put it back on, but it's more, once it's off, you're left with a choice. Like I'm not aligned. My actions, my beliefs and my actions are not aligned. They're not synonymous here. I'm a part of the problem. And so, yes, that's a very, that's a tough realization, but that's the only way that you change. You know, you can either repeat the cycle of your ancestors, you can either repeat the cycle of everyone before you and keep doing what, you know, what no one else had the guts or the gumption or the strength, right? Maybe they just sat. Did you ever hear just like, I mean, I just spoke with a woman who was doing this, but maybe I just picture like a little old curmudgeon man that's talking about politics, talking about the war, talking about how everything is wrong, and they get really wrapped up in the anger of it all, but none of them are doing anything to change it. None of them are standing up and speaking the truth. None of them are activating the change. They're just like, yeah, it's a problem. And you know, you hear that if you do talk to people about anything that needs to be revolutionized. You know, they acknowledge the problem. They acknowledge that if you get down to it, they acknowledge that they are part of the problem, but there's such a fear, there's such a lack of strength to do something about it. This here is the strength. This is taking the strength and saying, no, this is wrong. Like, we're not supposed to be riddled with cancer and illness. We're not supposed to be riddled with this inner hypocrisy. We have the power, you know, everything is designed, the grand conspiracy is designed to disempower the collective. This is what the work that you're doing is going to empower the collective. So it's going to empower that inner child in everyone that you interact with, that sees whatever. Maybe with the wands, you could have a social media platform. Whatever you're putting out there, it's like, you're done. You're done. I feel like there's a very much like, I'm done with this bullshit. We have the Two of Swords again. So yeah, this is a mirroring between the masculine and feminine. Both of you are and see, there were the two feminines in the masculine reading. Here's the two masculines here. Because the action is masculine energy. All right? Wands are masculine energy. Swords are masculine energy. Pentacles and cups are feminine. So there is like a mirroring of these two individuals using their masculine energy to make a choice, to act on that choice, and to ignite their own heart chakra. The heart chakra is the inner child, right? The sun, the creation, it's the divine creation. There's the divine masculine, the divine feminine, and the creation, right? And and there's also the divine feminine, divine masculine, because there's a duality in all things. So like the third eye is feminine, it's the high priestess. But intellect, thought, swords, that's masculine, right? And then the earth and all of these like lower, deeper, sort of like getting down in your shadow work is those like darker frequencies, those darker spaces. Like the moon is feminine, right? So when you go into the darkness, there is a feminine, nurturing, introspective, more introverted, where the speaking out, and the more extroverted is the masculine. So this could be a same-sex situation here, but I feel like this is more like the mirroring of two energies, right? There is a divine masculine and a divine feminine here, and maybe if it's heterosexual, again, who did I just say this to? Someone else had this. Maybe it was Capricorn or Sagittarius. I just did theirs yesterday. But maybe if it's not a same-sex situation, maybe the female is the divine masculine and the male is the divine feminine. There could be a sort of seemingly opposing or something dynamic to it, but it's all just energy. And so let's see with the divine masculine. What's going on here? The moon. So yeah, there's like a feminine quality to the divine masculine. So perhaps the divine, because when you come into the divine creation, the divine union, it's the divine masculine, divine feminine, and the divine creation. That's the Holy Trinity that creates the divine union. The divine timing is when those two individuals are on the same frequency. And so to get on that frequency where they're individually not aligned with their truth, there's divine masculine, divine feminine in all of us. So maybe the divine feminine is getting into their divine masculine energy. They're activating on some sort of project. They're coming out of that hermit mode. And maybe the masculine is toning it down from this very extroverted place and coming into and like being very active, being very social. I picture someone who's like good at sales, good at marketing, good at talking with people. And they're coming into a place where they have to get into a more feminine energy of nurturing, that introspection, going within and dealing with the things that are not obvious to the naked eye, right? This is intuition. The moon is intuition. So they're getting into a more feminine place. And so maybe all of that like back and forth duality, confusion that I kind of was spouting there is what's going on between the two of you, is that you're both sort of like, well, how can I be a divine feminine if I'm in this active energy? Like, am I going to attract my person if I'm in my divine masculine? Or if I'm, you can be an empress, but still be utilizing your divine masculine energy to call in. And if you are the divine masculine, divine feminine, but you're in your opposing, or in your, I don't want to say opposing because they work together, in your polarity, this could be your polar sign. Aquarius is Leo. So yeah, there's Leo, strength. But in your polarity sign, in your polar energy, in the duality of all things, say you have a divine masculine, divine feminine. If the divine feminine or divine masculine is in the divine feminine, the divine feminine is in the divine masculine, this is a tongue twister, they're still in their, they can still be in their divine frequency and meet each other. And then coming together may allow them, well, it will allow them, because that's what happens in divine union. It will allow them to sort of settle into their true energy of divine masculine, divine feminine, right? So but the divine masculine, if they're too hyper masculine and the divine feminine's too hyper feminine or hypo feminine, however you want to look at it, if they're too introverted, they've been in hermit mode, there's a fear of maybe launching or speaking their truth, because if you've done that hermit work, there's probably not a lot of people around you. If you haven't been extroverted and out, like tending to the social aspect of your environment, then you may feel very alone, right? Which is with the Queen of Wands, maybe that cushion to that is like this right here, like having a social media platform where you are still able to be in your feminine, you're still able to be in your hermit, nurturing home space with, I'm surrounded by my plants here. Like you're able to still be in your feminine aspect, but you are speaking out to society, to the community. Jesus, excuse me. To the community in a way that is, that's still very balanced and divine, right? Because there's a difference between that and the feminine being in like a hyper independent place, right? Where they're just like, I'll do it all myself. I don't need anybody. Well, if you tell the universe you don't need anybody, if you tell the universe you don't want anybody, then guess what? That's what you're going to get. But if you show the universe, right, that I am making the steps, I'm taking the active steps, which are masculine. Masculine is active energy. It's yang, whereas yin is more nurturing and it stays. Masculine goes. There's a lot of talk about masculine and feminine here, so I do feel like that could be the confusion, that could be the concern that is prolonging this connection from coming together, or this union. But realize that there is a difference. Hear me now. When there's a difference between being hyper independent and the masculine as well could be like, well, if I stop and nurture myself, if they're very active, especially if they, sure, why not? If they're very active physically and socially and politically, or whatever work that they've been doing, if that's what they've been doing, and maybe that's earned them a lot of money, that's earned them a lot of status, a lot of connections, a lot of information as well, right? These tools that they're using to do this, to build this new empire, this utopian space for the collective to heal, there could be a concern that, I have to keep it together, I have to be a provider, I have to be a protector, I have to be in my masculine energy. I don't want to say sometimes, because I would say all the time. To have that divine balance of masculine and feminine within yourself, to be a true magician, is to be able to wield all the tools. And masculine, who's in that place of also being in that hyper independent, like, I've got it all going on, and not recognizing and honoring the need for feminine, the 5D, that healing, nurturing entity. I keep wanting to say entity and energy, but this is very angelic, like I feel like you two are very angelic. There's something about the two of you that's going to be, it's divine healing. It's like divine light. You two are going to bring this together, and the masculine needs to understand and have compassion for the feminine, so that the feminine can come down, like they can kind of like cool this flame down a little bit and be a more cooling, nurturing place. But they're not going to be like burning people. Right now I feel like the feminine is in a very, very powerful place. in the 3D. 3D is masculine, feminine is 5D. I don't know if I've said that. But yeah, there's a temperance. Could be dealing with a Sagittarius, but this is the season that we're in right now. And see, temperance is, Sagittarius is a mutable fire sign, right? They're very flinty and fun and free and fancy and la la la. But the challenge of Aquarius, and the challenge, because this looks like Aquarius here, right? Aquarius is the water bearer. This is an individual who needs to, during this season, nurture and understand themselves and fill themselves up. It's like Ace of Cups. It's filling that vessel. And see how this is like a yoni dish? It's a very feminine dish, right? And there's this angelic, temperance is like the angelic tempering of the passions, of the desires, of the ego-based tendencies to deter us from our divine path. And so this is tempering ourselves so that we are a stronger sword, right? This is tempering the sword that you're choosing, right? There could be a question about, did I make the right choice? Like, you want love, you want this abundance, but it's like this divine calling is, it's like people in the priesthood, it's like you can't take a wife, you can't, there's an extreme religious aspect to every, there's an extreme aspect to every religion, but this is spirituality, right? This is open, this is free, this is unconditional. Religion is very conditional. Maybe you come from a religious background, but there's some sort of like, something needs to click in your mind, in your heart. Wow. I just realized how like dingy my sweater looks in this light. Anyway, there's something that needs to click in your perception of what it is to be divine masculine, to be divine feminine, right? To be in that divine frequency. And it's not an all or nothing thing. Even though you're a fixed sign, that could be the struggle there, because fixed signs are typically all or nothing, right? They're all in or they're all out. Like when they're in a relationship, they're all in. And so, you may be like, well, if I am doing this work on my divine calling, my divine path, then there's not going to be any room. That could be your concern. There might not be any room for love. But this is part of your love story. This work is your love story. This is where you and your person are going to come together, because the divine has called you to this place. So it's like, oh, here is where we're going to build this empire. Here's where we're going to hold this space for the collective to heal. So any sort of like temptations, any sort of worries, fears, that's all of the ego. That's all lower frequencies. That's all lower vibrations. We need those as tools, right? When you're nurturing those, you're paying attention to them. When you meditate, when you're sitting with yourself, when you're doing that internal excavation and shadow work, you acknowledge all of those shadows. You acknowledge your demons. You acknowledge everything that's going on deep down in your lower chakras. And you say, I see you. And just like little kids, they're like little misdirected kids that need attention, right? Like thoughts, intrusive thoughts. They will keep coming back. They will keep haunting you like ghouls and goblins until you, like in the movies, acknowledge them and set them free, right? You sort of, which doesn't mean that you will ever be free of the ego. You don't want to be free of the ego. The ego is how we navigate this terrestrial plane. And so there's just a need to recognize it and nurture it, comfort it. With that anger, it's like anger comes from hurt. And so it's like maybe you were never really held or comforted as a child. And with that physical abuse that I was getting earlier, maybe there was some sort of overt physical abuse, emotional abuse, there was a neglect, there was some sort of, your love language was never spoken. And so it's like, I do feel like you've come into this fixed place of like, I'll just do it myself. Like no one else is going to do it for me. No one's going to understand me. There's what's your greatest fear? Ask yourself that. If you want to share it, share it. If you don't, it's just a question for you. But at the root of every fear is really essentially like a feeling of unworthiness, a fear of not being enough. Being too much means you're not enough. Because enough is unconditional. It's just divine. It's enough. Too much and too not enough are conditional statements to deter us. Excuse me. I'm like, maybe you had a Virgo parent, because I'm getting very like perfectionist here. Maybe you dealt with a Virgo. Maybe you have a Virgo placement, which if you have a Virgo placement, like, good luck. But yeah, there was something like, whatever you did was like never enough. It was never right. And so maybe you just dove into your work or dove into yourself, and you got into a place that was that hyper independence, that sort of being like lying to the world and to yourself. I don't need anybody. You know, I see that in readings all the time. People watch love readings, and then they're like, oh, I don't want to be with anybody. I'm fine by myself. It's like, no, you're not. Why are you watching this fucking reading if you're fine by yourself? Liar, liar, pants on fire. Pants on fire, skirt on fire. That's like getting yourself, using that fear, but if you acknowledge that and go, oh, there's a truth there, that reluctance to get into a connection means I don't feel like I'm enough. It means, that comes from when I was a child. This is all shadow work here. It's going back to childhood and going, where did this fear come from? Where did this shadow come from? Like, shadows get very good at hiding because they've been there for a long time. This has been here for a long time, and it's found all the little nooks and crannies in your house, your vessel, to hide in. And so this is like pouring that divine, nurturing, feminine light of water into your inner yoni, right? Into your divine feminine. Nurturing that inner child like a mother. Maybe you had a neglectful or cold mother, right? But it's shadow work is all about remothering and refathering yourself. You have to reparent yourself in this process. That's how you break a cycle. You take all the genetic code and energy that they've given you, all the molecules that you inherited from them, and they inherited from them, and they inherited from them, and so on and so forth, so back, however you want to look at it. To heal that ancestral karmic cycle, to break it, is actually to heal it, right? Because it's already broken. That's why we're trying to fix it. So when you break a cycle, you're actually mending the cycle. You're not committing to the same cycle that they were in. You're healing it in a way that it can come back on itself and always revise itself, right? There's a revision process with this. So you're taking something that's just like a circle going round and round and round and round, and you're folding it. What is that? Sfungal. The band Sfungal, they have a song, it's called Around the World in a Tea Days. And at the beginning, it's, you take this whole universe and fold it and put it inside a very tiny head. Anyway, listen to that song if you will. But it is like with the world here, around the world in a tea days. I'm going to take a sip of my tea while we're on that. And with that sort of like alcohol, maybe you dealt with alcohol abuse growing up. Maybe you dove into that because it's what you know. You were committing to the same cycle because you're like, well, the dream that I have of this utopian world, of this divine connection, like maybe you've always known that you were supposed to be with somebody, like that's always been your dream, but this world is really devolved into a space of like vacuous, superficial, casual connections, and you're like, and there is a lot of media out there to perpetuate this hyper independence. Like, you don't need anybody, nobody needs love, and women are hating men and men are hating women, and it's like, come on. Like, maybe just the idea of, and if you didn't see it, if it was never represented to you, you've never seen it in your friendships, you've never seen it in your parents, your aunts, your uncles, you've never seen it anywhere around you, you know, this representation of a holistic divine love, you may have just kind of neglected it. But in that lie, there is a truth, right? When people say, oh, I don't want kids, it's really a fear that they can't have kids, or a fear that they won't be a good parent because of their childhood. So that's what the inner child healing there. But around the world in a tea days, maybe you're going to be like doing teas, or doing like a cleanse, doing some sort of like juice cleanse, going into sobriety, right? There's a place, there are a lot of places, but there's like kava bars, right? Where it's like, there's sobriety bars. So maybe you were a bartender and you're gonna run like a juice shop or a healing hub for people who want that community, because that's really why you go to like, that's my bar, everybody knows my name, cheers. You know, it's like you really go there for the community. And then you drink and you get really sad because you don't have the community. And everyone is just in their own little world of sadness and depression, because this idea that is woven into the very fabric of every incarnated being, everyone that comes from a star saw the possibility, and they incarnated with the choice to create that possibility of a utopian community, the utopian collective. And that is what divine unions are for. It's the two magicians, it's the two alchemists, divine alchemists, coming together and healing. That union is so healing to their own cycles, which is like a ripple effect. It helps to heal the other cycles around them, right? You can't do the work for people, but you can do it for yourself, and you can do it for the connection, the union. And through that, you will be the representation for the next generation, possibly the current generation, future generations, past generations, of, oh, it is possible. This divine union is possible. This love, this idea of love that I had is possible. And you're going to just hold that space. You cannot do it for people. I mean, maybe you're going to be doing like this is very specific, but maybe like a marriage retreat, or some kind of couples retreat, right? Where you're going to hold space. And if you've seen that movie Couples Retreat, the comedy with Vince Vaughn, it's everybody has the tools on their own. All right? Not to spoil the, epic drama that is Couples Retreat. But it's like everybody has the tools to heal themselves. But you as the gurus, or the ones who have figured it out and got your frequency to a place where you've come together, you're going to hold that space for other people to come. And the best way to lead is by example, right? So you're not forcing anybody. You're not just, it's like you could write something, or you're going to be doing like seminars or videos or something where you're speaking to others. You're not doing it for them. You're just offering the tools that you have used. And the more people that come to that community, the more tools that you get, and the more tools that they get, and the more tools the collective gets. This is very big. Like there's not an emperor and an empress here, but I feel like, often it's like you have to be an emperor and empress on your own before you can come together, And even that's a very common thing that I will say, because I think a lot of people look to love to be the thing that fixes them. And it's like, no, you need to fix yourself first. But I think that to come into a true I think we're all really like pre-Empress and pre-Emperor. We can be very close to it, but you're never truly going to build that empire until both of you bring your tool bags into the equation, right? It's not like the Emperor builds the house and then the Empress just moves in and fluffs the pillows. I mean, that's kind of, that works for some people, but I don't know. What I'm getting here is kind of like something is like obliterating the way that you thought about love, the way you thought about union. Maybe you thought you had to be perfect, you had to be right, you had to be like 100% or whatever. But it's like wherever you are, you're not too much or too little. You're enough. As you are ready, right? Once you've made this once you've had this realization and you've decided to take the fucking blindfold off and you're like, let's do it together. And they're like, yeah. And see, they're one. They're so mirrored. You guys are so, I mean, all divine unions are like mirrors of each other. All twin flame, all divine unions are twin flames. Not all twin flames reach a divine union. So it's like this realization about your twin flame journey is what's going to bring you two together, because you realize like we're better together. It's always better when we're together. Jack Johnson. Maybe you have an alliteration in your name. And then we've got the star here in the feminine and the 8 of Pentacles in the masculine. So, and see, they're pouring. See, it's like you first pour into yourself, and then you can pour into the space around you. You got to heal yourself to heal others. The star is the wish fulfillment. And see, they have this sort of here, I mean, they're very lean. And then here, they've got that belly. They're full, right? It's being fulfilled. The Fool is also someone who takes that leap of faith. You could also be dealing with, the Fool is also Aquarius, but you could also be dealing with an Aries. We've got Aries and fire energy here. Again, maybe you have a fire placement that you're using, because we've got strength and temperance. So we've got Sagittarius, we've got Leo, and we've got Scorpio with the Death here. The World is the fixed signs. Or no, that's the Wheel of Fortune. I always confuse those. The Wheel of Fortune and the World. But this is like your Wheel of Fortune. It's sort of like if you take that chance to spin the wheel, if you take that chance to go there to, it's like it feels like a gamble, right? We have the 8 of Pentacles. This is someone who's worked. They've got nice tools. They're doing a lot of work. This is somebody who's like working on a craft, maybe a trade, working on their space, working on their body, right? Like this is the physical 3D masculine work that is part of this connection. And, you know, usually you'd say, oh, you want to be like the 9 of Pentacles before you come into the 10 of Pentacles, which is the union. The 10 of Cups is the union. That's the feminine elements, right? Pentacles, earth, and cups, water. Those are the feminine elements. Those are the nurturing ones. When you have the 10 of Swords or the 10 of Wands, that's like an ending needs to happen so that you can come into the abundance. This is very much like nurturing or nurturing and supplementing. This doesn't mean that the masculine is less than. There is no comparison with divine love. This does not mean that the masculine is less than the feminine, right? It takes a very strong masculine to be able to protect and hold space for the feminine. You know, it's like a Avatar, the Way of Water. Very masculine in the water tribe. You know, the chief is very masculine. He's a very like brutish, strong, person, but he's also sensitive. He understands that the one that really makes the decisions, and then they all kind of part, the villagers all part, and the queen or chieftress or whatever she's called, which is, I think she's a Sagittarius, Kate Winslet. I think she's a Sagittarius. She plays the voice of the female leader, right? He's like, well, I'm not the one that you have to ask, or I'm not the one you have to convince, or whatever. Or actually, I don't know that he says that. I think Jake Sully and I can't think of her name. But they, I think that they say it like, oh, that's not the one we need to convince. We don't need to convince him. And then she comes through, and she's this very powerful kind of Queen of Wands, even though she's in the water. She's a water tribe lady. I don't have the tribal nomenclature down yet. But it's like, this is the powerful shot caller. And the reason is because the masculine is of the 3D, which is the ego, which is the physical. It's limited. It's useful. It's completely useful. It's not that it's without its virtues. But the divine, the twin flame journey, this union is of the 5D. It's ethereal. It's of the stars. It's angelic. It's, we're celestial body or celestial beings in terrestrial bodies. So this is like knowing that the feminine has the third eye connection, has that high priestess connection. Could be dealing with a Pisces, but that high priestess connection, the feminine is of the 5D. So it's like the feminine gets their frequency. They know and feel, because it's all the feelings, they feel like water, right? Like earth, you feel the ground, you feel the water. You don't feel swords and wands, you'll get burned and cut, right? You have to be practical, right? When you're playing with fire, when you're wielding a sword, it's about logic, it's about practical approaches to fighting that battle. When you're wielding the elements like the magician does, the feminine ones, they have to be sort of felt. Now, the thing about pentacles is that pentacles are also of the 3D. So it's earth, but it's of the 3D. This is the meeting point. Like you could be dealing with a Taurus, you could have a Taurus placement. Taurus is your fellow fixed sign. But Taurus, the high priest, right? Because we were talking about the high priestess, but the high priest is the counterpart to the high priestess. That's the masculine aspect. They are the Hierophant takes the information from the 5D and relays it to the 3D, right? So they are the medium, they are the translator, and they use the third eye to do so. They use the information from source. They use these ethereal connections, higher connections, which, like I was saying before, the upper chakras are of the future, right? They're of the intuition, which is seemingly feminine, but also we have logic and intellect up in the head with the swords. And then the root, the lower chakras are of the past, of the ego, of attachments, right? Of the physical body. So that is masculine, but it's also lower in the dark space, and it's down with like the feelings, because the ego is all about feelings. It's how I feel. It's reacting to how you feel. So there's that duality, and it takes two, baby. Like, we're better together. I don't know which song I'm going to title this as, but it is in between those that this masculine recognizes that they are working in the physical world to, like I said, it wasn't about, but again, that could have just been doubt from the individuals in this connection of like, to get this 9 of Pentacles, it's, they know that they need their their person. To get to the 10 of Pentacles from the 8, you need 2, which is balancing 2 or more ideas. There is something with the 2s, there's a lot of 2s and decisions here, but when it comes to 2 of Cups, which is the union, 2 of Pentacles, it's balancing 2 or more ideas. It's realizing that it takes both of you to make this work, right? To do this work, this divine work. It takes both of you. And so it's the masculine recognizing, like, it's you don't have to do it all. You don't have to build the whole house. You don't have to, like, have 9 of Pentacles, right? Maybe there's a question of, like, money or tangible resources. But you have enough. You are enough. And the feminine is going to be able to do their work. Like, you know, it's like new couples getting a place, and maybe it's like got some problems, and the masculine's like, oh, I can fix this, I can fix that, I can fix, you know, like they have the tools, they have the trades, they have the understanding, but sometimes it takes you both getting in with that vision, and then the feminine's like, yeah, that's no problem, I can work with that. It's that coming together, you two are stronger and better together. And it, you know, 4 hands are better than 2, right? So it is like you guys are coming together to something between better together and it takes 2. I think it takes 2 because to say you're better together is kind of like saying it may be kind of like reinstating that sort of like you're not enough. And so if this union doesn't, there's that Wheel of Fortune. Could be dealing with a fellow fixed sign and 6 of Pentacles. That's you two coming together. To say that you're better together is maybe alluding to the fact that you're not as good alone. And I think that's the sort of understanding that you both need to have, is that you are enough, you are perfect as you are right now. Just like Bridget Jones' Diary. Like, I like you just as you are. You are just right for this person. And once you have that realization, wherever you are on this long, confusing journey, I feel like it's a click, it's an epiphany. Once you decide to take the blindfold off, that blindfold is fear. That blindfold is like, it's a false protection. It's blocking what you see and know to be true. So once you take off the blindfold and you decide to keep it off and say, and maybe look at yourself, maybe do some affirmations. Affirmations are going to be very helpful with the swords if you're at a place of deciding between 2 things, of the swords, of thoughts and of words. It's like your belief system needs to change here. And so in order to do that, you need to change your thoughts, which means you need to change your words. So it's easier to change your thoughts by changing your words, because you can say things that will eventually shift the perspective. So maybe some journaling, affirmations, get yourself to where your thoughts are congruent, are aligned with your belief system, your original belief system, not the belief system that was muddied up and confused and shifted and changed and mutated. That's the word. It's been mutated by your friends, family, society, everything outside of you. But the divine truth is within you. So hopefully there was something in here for you. And until next time, I wish you well.